Moyer, and you are in the club room. Thanks for being here. It's part of the Win Again Academy. And tonight I'm going to speak about the best ways to really improve your networking skills, whether you're at an event like this or at a live in-person event, or even on the phone, any sort of way where you're interacting with somebody likely for the first or second time. I'm going to be talking about things that you can really do to not just improve the communication, but to also be able to extract information from that person in a way that doesn't sound like you're extracting something else. So, but first things first, I feel that especially now with the environment we're in and COVID and so forth, it's just so critical to try to be out and about as much as you can without actually being out and about, and trying to interact with new people that can really elevate everything you're doing, whether it's your business or your career. And there are a bunch of tips that I can give you right now. So if you happen to have a pen and paper handy and you want to jot some things down, great. I also have a 2-page sheet that I can send you, or 2 sheets of one thing that are a lot of networking tips on them that I can forward your way as well. But first of all, tip number 1 is always think about what's in it for them, not what's in it for me. Always go into every conversation with the idea that, okay, what is it that they're thinking? What is it they want to hear? What is it they want to talk about? And how can I give them and deliver to them something that will make them and compel them to want to return, whether it's the favor or whatever it is you're offering them. So whenever you're speaking with someone, whether again, you've met them before, you've met them through LinkedIn, you're seeing them here, whatever it is for the first time, always put yourself in their shoes. Always think to yourself, okay, what is it that they're thinking? Think to yourself, what is it that they're going to get out of this conversation? What are some of the benefits that you can offer them? What kind of advice can you give them? And a lot of times I've seen people say, hey, great to meet you. How can I help you today? Or, how can I be of service? That's always a great way to start a conversation. Secondly, number 2, always listen. Listen. They always say, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, that sort of thing. It's true. Always listen. So if it's something that they may say they may consider to be really a small thing, might be incredibly important to you, but also pick up on little details that they may talk about. They may say something about, oh, my son bought his first bicycle yesterday, or my aunt climbed so-and-so mountain, or whatever it might be. This way you can refer to that specific thing in a future conversation. So always listen. The other thing is, we have a tendency to sort of, as we're listening, want to cut someone off and rush in and put in our 2 cents. We want to sort of say, hey, oh, blah, 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 blah. Let them talk. Let them finish what they're saying. Let them really almost say, is there anything else you want to follow up with that? Let them just keep on talking. Again, listening to them will only earn respect and it will also allow them to just give you more and more information also. So remember, listen, listen, listen. Number 3, always ask. And what I mean by that is ask questions, ask for help, ask for connections, ask for information. Again, if you're listening, the chances are you probably have some questions based on what they're saying, okay? So not only are you showing a strong interest in what they're saying by asking them questions, but just keep them coming and have follow-up stuff. So if they're talking to you about, I don't know, the latest trends in European, gold prices or something like that, I don't know, whatever. Ask them, well, where do you see those trending going forward? Get them to talk about stuff that they know a lot about. Again, when you show an interest in what they have to say, they're going to offer much more to you, promise. Number 4, always, and I mean always, offer help, offer your assistance, offer your advice. If they took the time to discuss their business or their career with you, and obviously they're hoping that there's something you can give them in return. So make sure you offer your advice if you have any specifically, or perhaps you can even offer to connect them with somebody in your network. But just always remember, offer help, offer, 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 okay? Number 5. Now, this is a biggie, and I talk about this all the time, but I'm going to stick with it. never ask for help. Always ask for advice. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, um, back when I was younger and I had friends that were in their sort of 20s, it used to be something where people would be like, hey, Mark, what are you doing this weekend? I'd love to get your help. Oh, no. Because what that usually meant was they needed help with me moving their stuff into their apartment or something. And it would just absolutely destroy the weekend. But it's hard to say no when they do that, right? But instead, asking for help, because whenever someone asks for help now, I run for the hills. I mean, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to help. But if you say, I'd love to get your advice on something, people love to give advice. They love to talk about themselves and all the knowledge they got jammed in their heads, and they're so smart and brilliant and so forth. So remember, always ask for advice. So you may even say, I mean, I'm going to be cute here for a second, but instead of saying, hey, I need some help moving this couch, and be like, no thanks. If you say, hey, I'd love to get some advice from you, what's the best way you think I can move this couch? Well, they may give you some opinions, but they may just say, oh, screw it, I'll help you out. So it's something where, again, always ask for help. I mean, I'm sorry, always ask for advice, never ask for help, okay? One other thing, and some people that come to these events and some others, they're in the midst of a job search, right? They're middle of looking for what's next in their life and their career. And sometimes they say, oh, I'd love to talk to you, but even better, I'd love to send you my resume. Oh, dear God, please never, ever, ever, ever offer your resume, ever. First of all, if anybody knows me, they know I hate resumes. I hate them with a passion. To me, you are your best resume. A resume is a two-dimensional thing of you. But if you're at an event, don't bring resumes with you. Don't even think about doing that. And if you're at a live event like this, virtually, don't offer to send someone your resume. If anything, offer to send them your LinkedIn profile, or maybe you can send them some articles you've written or videos you've produced or whatever it is, some of a greater semblance of your work. But I always tell people, don't send your resume. Don't do that. Keep your ears wide open. And what I mean by that is, back earlier, we talked a little bit about, obviously listening, and it piggybacks on that, where I also said, keep in mind or try to listen to specific details, again, talking points that you can always use to follow up. So again, I'm piggybacking off of that, but just really keep track of all the things that are being said and keep your ears wide open for anything that can be really be used to help you going forward. Okay. Number 8, when we're at these events or any other events, a lot of times people say, hey, nice to meet you. What do you do? Oh God, I hate that question, but it's something that everybody asks. What do you do? Nice to meet you, Jim. What do you do? Nancy, what do you do? Well, the problem is that, sometimes people aren't excited about what they do, but they talk about, oh, I'm just an architect, or I'm a plumber, or I'm a this, or I'm a that. The other person says, oh, well, yeah, I'm a blank. And then, so how about those Yankees? And there's nothing that happens. To me, this is something that can absolutely make or break a conversation. So if you don't necessarily know how to answer this, and you don't until hopefully hearing this, what you want to do is come up with something that maybe is a maximum, I'll even say 20 seconds, but even if it's 10 seconds, a reply that really showcases and highlights your strengths and capabilities and what you bring to the table. So in my case, instead of someone saying, Mark, what do you do? Oh, I'm an athlete transition coach. I'm the founder of the Win Again Academy, and maybe boring. Instead, say, I've been helping athletes and executives absolutely elevate their life, their business, and their career for the last 20 years. And I absolutely get a thrill out of doing that. And if there's anything I can do to help you today, whether it's, again, with your business, your career, whatever it is, don't hesitate to ask. Boom, that's it. So people be like, wow, that's really cool. So you're talking about what you're bringing to the table. You're talking about what you're really good at. And then the conversation goes from there, because then they may say, hey, listen, I actually have a friend of mine. He played baseball for 10 years and, he's really struggling right now. He doesn't really know what to do next. So, maybe you can help him out. That's how it leads. So the one thing I like to say is, when you're talking about that, they ask you, what do you do? And you describe that little sort of 10 to 20-second little, almost like a personal marketing pitch of what you bring to the table. Follow it up also with, is there anybody that you know that might want to hear more about this? Or is there anybody you recommend I speak with? Because a lot of times they may say, you know what, I was just at another table and Jim was telling me that he knows somebody who blah, 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 blah. So that kind of folds into, that was number 8. I don't know if you're keeping track, but anyway, that was number 8. But the ninth one is, you know, ask for referrals. And that ties into sort of what I just talked about in number 8. Ask for referrals. And what I mean by that is, you know, don't just say, is there anybody you know? I may have said that earlier, but instead say, you need to be much more specific. So instead of saying, is there anybody you know, you can say, do you know any, in my case, maybe I'll say, do you know any former Major League Baseball players that may have retired in the last 10 years that may not be really in the place they want to be? Now, that may limit someone else's network tremendously. Maybe they only know 1, 2, or 3 of them. But the point being that you need to ask something that's a little more pinpointed, and sort of goes in hand with when people say, "Oh yeah, just send me your resume. I'll send it around." No, 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 no. Be very specific, because if you say, it's almost like when someone says, um, for example, "Hey, where do you want to eat tonight? What restaurant you want to go to?" And there's, in New York City, there's 10,000 to choose from, right? So it's like, I don't know. But if you say something like, hey, listen, let's either grab, Japanese or French food. Which one would you prefer? Oh, let's go get Japanese. Then you're off and running. So it's the same sort of thing here. When you ask for referrals, be specific with the types of people you want to ask. It's much, you may only get 1 or 2, but they can always add from there. So if they say, listen, I only know 1 or 2 retired baseball players, but would you ever speak with a retired football player? Oh, absolutely. Or soccer or whatever. So that's how you do that. Now, I know I'm busting through these, and um, I'm not trying to set a new world record time, but I think I'm close to it. Um, but there's another one, and this is the biggie. I'm going to say this is number 10. But always, always following up is so important. It's so critical. And a lot of us are super busy with our days. A lot of times it slips our mind. But when you meet with people tonight at this event or any event, make sure you follow up with them. It doesn't need to be that night or whatever, but the next day, say, hey, listen, it was really a pleasure meeting you. And, I'd love to, you mentioned in our chat that your son likes to ride a bicycle or whatever it is. Well, you know what? I just thought of someone, I thought about this overnight, that he might be able to get your son a new bicycle or something, whatever that is. Or again, back to the, gold prices and wherever, or, what's real estate like in Brazil or something, whatever it might be. Come back with a follow-up. Don't just say, hey, listen, I just wanted to say nice meeting you, but follow it up with something that's actually intellectual and intelligent, that piggybacks off of a lot of what you were talking about during the initial conversation. And also, if you could, remind them, please remind them that they were offering up a couple names for referrals. And what's nice about a platform like this is that you can put it in the chat room, you can put it out, you can send it to them so people can connect on LinkedIn and otherwise, right? But just make sure you follow up with people as soon as possible after the event, and stay on top of them. And they may say to you, listen, hey, it was great meeting you. I may have some ideas for you. Why don't you give me a call in a couple of weeks? Well, cardinal rule of a couple of weeks, I always tell people, whatever time they tell you to do, split it in half. Call them in a week. And I'll tell you why. Almost never does somebody remember that they told you 2 weeks, 1 week ago. They'll say, oh, it's almost like a little mini blow up. Maybe they're busy, maybe whatever it is. They'll say, oh yeah, call me in a couple of weeks. Call next week. They'll be happy you did. I've seen it several times, especially in my career as an executive recruiter, where I might have a client who said, oh, Mark, we're not hiring anybody right now, but give me a buzz in a couple months. I'll wait the 2 months, and they'll say, oh, we just hired somebody. Oh, sorry, I totally forgot to call you. Instead of, if you call after a month, they say, you know what, in a couple weeks, we may be needing somebody. So why don't you go ahead and get a head start on that? So with all this stuff, again, stick with the follow-up and then keep on those people, but don't do it in a stalky way. Sometimes we have a tendency to, if we don't hear from somebody, like we want to, but just always keep in mind that, you've got to consider things from their perspective and think to yourself, well, what is it that they're thinking? Are they starting to feel like I'm being a little stalking them or not? But also think to yourself, keep reminding them of the value that you offer them, of the whether it's your network, your skill set, your coaching, whatever it might be, or even just your time. Keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to give you 11th one, and this is a biggie, but it's a really important one, and it's one that I was actually chatting about earlier today. and it's pretty key. But smile, always smile. Smile and remain engaged. Be involved in the conversation. If for whatever reason that person is absolutely boring you to tears, and quite frankly, you'll almost always, end up speaking to somebody like that, just smile at them and acknowledge what they're talking about. Show your interest in what they have to say. And then, you know what, if you need to make the exit strategy, go ahead and do that. So you got to jump on a call, you got to run to the restroom, you got to grab a drink, or in this case here, you want to bounce over to another table and say hi to somebody else. But please don't appear bored, disinterested. Don't appear like grouchy, whatever it is. It's just so important to keep the momentum going. So smile a lot, have these conversations going. Make sure you stick to topics that really are interesting topics to both sides, or everyone at the table, ideally. And you know what? Throw in a few laughs and make it very, easy going. And maybe the one sentence to sort of tie this all together is, you know what? And I heard it first from Dave Meltzer, but I'm sure it's been said by a ton of people. But be interested, not interesting. In other words, show your interest in the other person. Don't show off how interesting you are. They'll ask you about yourself. Don't worry, they'll get to that. So again, be interested, not interesting. So this was 10 and a half or 11 tips that I threw at you super fast. Obviously, I'm happy to tell you lots more if you want to engage with me on a one-on-one basis. I also encourage you to consider joining the Win Again Academy, where you can get access to not only events like this and not just meeting fabulous people like myself, but also lots of other great people are here. And you've already seen the caliber of the people that are in this room and the ones that come to these events. So please consider joining the Academy. And for part of that monthly cost and investment is not just attending these events, but you also get access to a 24-hour Slack channel where you can interact with other members on a nonstop basis. You get access to all these previous events. In fact, we've got a brand new YouTube channel that you can get access to all the podcasts that I used to do, and I'll probably be doing those again. All of the live webinars, all of these great events. So make sure you consider joining. I really appreciate you being here. Not everyone's a fantastic networker. And in fact, it's interesting. Nobody believes this when I tell them this, but when I walk into a room of 50, 100, 10 people, whatever it is, unless I know somebody that I know right away that I can walk right away over to, I'm not comfortable approaching strangers at all. In fact, I'd rather just go over to the bar area, grab a beer, and start watching the Yankees game if it's on TV or something. And I'm not usually comfortable just approaching people. So I think that most everybody is not a type A networker. They may have I think my personality is type A, but strangely enough, I'm fairly shy, especially at places I don't know people. So again, the concept is to try to get conversations going. Just chat about, again, some sort of current events that are happening, or you could talk about something else that's happening at that event itself. But then just get the conversation rolling. But again, keep in mind what it is, put yourself in their shoes. What is it that they want to hear, talk about, share? They love to show off their expertise. Get them talking about their opinion on things and just have a conversation. And then again, remember to follow up at the end. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this. Everybody, thanks for being here. We're going to go back to the tables to chat for a little bit longer. And you're the best. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. I'll see you out there.